Hey VBS leader, it is the end of the week, Friday of VBS lesson. And so today's lesson is going over how Philip helped the Ethiopian. And that is found in Acts chapter 8, verse 26 through 39. And our Bible verse is, "Let your good deeds shine so that everyone will praise your heavenly Father," Matthew 5:16. And so our theme for the day is, when people need help, shine Jesus' light. And so let's go ahead and review. We'll go make sure to go over your lesson from yesterday and review the Bible verse. And so there's not much you actually need in this lesson, so we'll kind of just go and show you. But starting off, you're going to kind of go over yesterday's lesson with a few hand motions. Remember yesterday we talked about how the soldiers led Jesus away to the cross. Do this with me. And so you'll show them the hand motion of this, and you'll be remembering that they took Jesus to the cross. We watched as they hurt Jesus and nailed him to the cross. And they remember that Jesus died on the cross because of his love for us. So it's just simple little motions to help them remember this salvation story a little bit. So those clues you'll need to remember later. So today's true story happened after Jesus had died, come back to life, and gone back to heaven. It's an important man from Ethiopia. This guy worked for the queen, taking care of her money, but he was super smart and pretty important. So you'll have a little scroll that's kind of key in this lesson that the kids will have to try and read, and we'll get there in a second. So, I've spent a lot of time with you this week. You're pretty important and smart, and you figured out and learned an awful lot in our time together. You're a bright bunch of kids. Let's see how you do at understanding this scroll. So you'll have a few instructions on how to do it. You'll allow kids to try and read the scroll for about every 30 seconds. You can do a few kids, but they have to try and read the scroll as fast as possible and understand what it says. The thing is, it's not an easy scroll to read. It is actually backwards. You'll have a copy in your book so you can see and know what it says. But we'll provide a copy as well in your box for VBS Friday. And so it's actually all sent backwards. I will show you what it looks like. So here, this is what it will look like. So kids will try and read it as fast as possible and do what it says. But the key for this first part is you really don't want them to be able to read it. You want them to have trouble understanding and reading it. And so you'll ask, how did you feel when you tried to read? Call out something else that was hard for you to understand. So I think you feel how the Ethiopian man in the Bible felt. He struggled to understand the words on the scroll that he read. When we don't understand something, people say we're in the dark. We all know what it feels like to be in the dark about things. When we're in the dark, we need help, and when people need help, we need to shine Jesus' light. Sometimes even the Bible can be hard to understand. And that's what happened today in today's Bible story. After Jesus died and came back to life, he went back to heaven. Well, his friends wanted to tell everyone about Jesus. They couldn't wait to shine Jesus' power and love and help the people in the world. A man named Philip had traveled all over, telling what had happened to Jesus. One day an angel told him to head down to the road between Jerusalem and Gaza. When Philip walked down the road, he saw a chariot. That's sort of like a fancy carriage. Okay. The chariot carried this important man from Ethiopia, the one I was telling you about. He was in charge of money for the whole country. So he was pretty important. He rode along in his chariot reading from the book of Isaiah. Isaiah is in the Old Testament part of the Bible where it tells us what happened before Jesus came to earth. The New Testament part of the Bible tells us about Jesus' birth and everything after Jesus was born, lived, died, and came back to life and went back to heaven. The New Testament tells every stellar Bible adventure you learned about VBS this week. The Old Testament and New Testament were written 100 years apart. So this is important to understand. The Ethiopian man was able to read part of the Bible, sort of like we do, except back then it was written on scrolls. Just like you had trouble reading, the Ethiopian man needed help as well. And when people need help, shine Jesus' light. So that's when Philip came and helped. God's helper, the Holy Spirit, told Philip to go walk alongside the chariot. So let's stand up and walk around in place. Wait, you have to run up to catch to it. So let's run a little faster. Whew, we made it. Let's walk along and talk to the man. Ask him if he needs help understanding what he is reading. The Ethiopian man said he needed some help to understand it. So Philip got into the chariot with him. Our chariot seems a little bit smaller than the Ethiopians. So for the younger kids especially, it'd be great to act out the story. The older ones, maybe not so much, but you can definitely still act it out. But the younger ones, I think it'd definitely be a good interaction to allow them to put a chair in the middle of the room, have that be the chariot, have the kids run up to the chariot, and all that. So it'd be great to add into that. So let's read the verses that confuse the man. As I read, see if you can figure out what the verses meant. So you'll read Acts 8:32 through 33. So think about what you just heard. What do you think these verses mean? It's okay if you're not sure. See if anybody wants to try and guess what the Bible is saying or what those verses mean. Those verses might seem a little confusing to us too. Thankfully, Philip understood that the verses were talking about Jesus. Jesus was like the lamb who was led to die. Jesus didn't speak up for himself on the cross. We experienced that story yesterday. Philip explained that Jesus loved us. That's when you bring those arm motions back into the picture. And died for us and then came back to life. He told the man everything he knew about Jesus. So you'll ask this question. Tell your crew something you know about Jesus. Maybe it's something you learned here at Stellar, or maybe it's something you've known before VBS, just something that you know about Jesus. So, the Ethiopian man needed help. When people need help, shine Jesus' light. So, I wonder if we can shine a light to help each other understand what we're trying to read earlier. We'll need everyone's help in this part. So, with the younger kids, I know they have trouble reading, so the first part is definitely way easier on them because they're going to have trouble reading. The older ones, they may be able to read it faster. So this part, I know the younger ones will need help. The older ones, I don't think they will need help as much. One person will need to read the scroll. If you're a strong reader, that might be your role. One person will hold the scroll. You'll need to have steady hands. One person will shine a light through the back of the scroll. That way, the reader can read it. And the other crew members will be the ones who show me what the scroll says when the reader reads the directions. They're going to follow them. So they're going to take the paper and they're going to shine the light through the back of it to help the person trying to read the paper. So I'm just going to read some of it. It says, jump up, spin in a circle, and sit back down. Then pat your head and rub your belly at the same time. So that's just the first part. There's 4 different parts in here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'll have it typed up as well, just so you know what it's actually supposed to be saying. So how did the light help you? What people can you look for help when you don't understand the Bible? The Ethiopian man isn't the only one who sometimes gets confused by the Bible. Sometimes we do too, and we can always ask for help. Then when others need help understanding the Bible, we can shine the light of Jesus as well to them. When people need help, shine Jesus' light. You're shining a light this week with our mission project. Your donations will help kids all over the world. And our mission project, I haven't finalized it, but I'm pretty sure this year we are going to do Operation Christmas Child. It's a big part of our church and our missions, and so we've already begun collecting things over the few months, but we're going to have a list for kids different items for kids to bring. So their first, second, third, fourth, or fifth different items that they can bring to help send things off for Operation Christmas Child. And so the Ethiopian man was so happy to hear about Jesus. He believed in Jesus and he wanted to be baptized. That means he wanted to show to his friends what happened on the inside. So they rode along in the bumpy chariot and then came to a sudden stop. The Ethiopian saw some water. So Philip baptized him by dipping him in the water. And as they came up out of the water, the Spirit of the Lord snatched Philip away. Talk about not understanding something. God is so mysterious and awesome. I wonder what it was like when Philip just disappeared. Rub your eyes like you saw something unbelievable. You're like, what in the world? So even though the Ethiopian man never saw Philip again, he was thankful for Philip's help. When Philip shined Jesus' light, the man wanted to follow Jesus. As the man went on his way celebrating his new friendship with Jesus, it reminds us we can celebrate too. And so we're going to celebrate during our Friday celebration. We're going to have a glow party. So haven't figured out all the details of that, but we are going to have our lighted up celebration where we'll probably have glow sticks and everything so we can shine the light of Jesus and celebrate as we end our week with VBS on how we're going to shine Baytown for Jesus. So if you have any questions on anything that from the lessons to the schedule to anything about Vacation Bible School, please see me at any time. My cell phone number is in the booklet, or you can always email me at jason@thebrook.com.